That's exactly what we set upon our agenda to focus on in that first year, is showing the world first visually how this is a beautiful thing, and then second, how financially smart this is and important this is for society.
Welcome to Be Bold Branding, where we discuss the power of differentiating yourself through your own unique story and standout personal brand. From sleeping on friends' couches to being featured in Forbes, imagine transforming the most stigmatized form of housing into a luxury living solution that's actually affordable. Our guest today went from experiencing housing instability firsthand to pioneering a revolutionary approach that's making homeownership possible for countless families priced out of the traditional market. While most developers are building million-dollar homes, he's creating stunning living spaces at a quarter of the price. We're speaking with Franco Perez, the maverick entrepreneur behind Franco Mobile Homes, and we're about to reveal how he's turning the mobile home industry on its head and changing the game of affordable housing in Silicon Valley.
Franco, welcome to Be Bold Branding.
Thanks for having me, guys. I'm so excited to be here.
Hey, before we dive into Franco Mobile Homes, take us back a little bit and tell us like your childhood. I think originally you're from the Philippines, right?
That's right. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so just take us a little bit of a short journey from being born in the Philippines to being in Silicon Valley.
Sure. Yeah. So long story short, I grew up in the Philippines till about 11, 12 years old. Had immigrant parents that moved here. We moved a lot, while my parents were trying to get citizenship, while they were trying to work hard on that, while also going through school, while working jobs and that type of thing. And with that, when I was about 17, 18 years old, actually at 17 years old, we had this weird family situation. My parents split. My dad fled the country, and I was just left at 17 years old to help support my mom and my younger sister. And at that point, we were in the Silicon Valley with nowhere to live. And I remember how difficult it was for our family to just survive, and housing was a big part of it. I was working 2 jobs. My mom was working 2 jobs. My younger sister was in school. And from that point, I still remember today that, at the end of each month, not knowing whether or not we were going to be able to afford rent, and the stress of that, and the fear of my sister being kicked out of school because we didn't have a secure address. And, I say that now because I know that as we're speaking today, there's families that are going through that same situation. But from there, kind of worked my way. I've always wanted to do graphic design. That didn't work out. I ended up doing flyers and websites for real estate agents, and somehow became a real estate agent from there. Because I was in survival mode, I was door knocking and cold calling endlessly just to survive, and I became really good at it. And after I became financially secure as a real estate agent, I then kind of reflected and realized, like, man, I am not really loving this whole thing. I feel like I'm not making as much as an impact. I don't know what it was inside of me, but I think what it was that I hated the fact of always helping, the wealthy people get their second and third home, which is really cool. But I really hated having to tell the families that were in my shoes back then that, hey, you don't make enough money, you don't have enough saved as a down payment. I can't help you now, but if you fix that, I can help you later. And having to turn down those families in my shoes back then was the hardest thing for me. And from there, I left being a regular agent. I tried dabbling in government for affordable housing. I didn't like the way that was structured, and I accidentally came across mobile homes, and come to find out a lot of people are having their financial start here, and there's a lot of false myths about it. And I just dove deep into that. And now we're helping families get out of that rental rat race into mobile homes and convert, and helping them go into real estate. And now today we're kind of famous for converting really old style mobile homes into large, luxurious mobile homes now too. And I know that was a long drawn out thing, but I feel like it's important for the story. So
Yeah, we agree that the background is something that we're always really interested in BrandFace, because we recognize that the life's experiences are what lead us to be driven to do the things that we do and do them well. And clearly, you're a prime example of that. And
yeah,
then it's really intriguing to me because I know the story. Like, I've lived the same story, although born in America and American by birth. I have sort of the same story, an extant dad at an early age, and then me and my mom and my sisters fighting and scratching, scrounging to survive, and then growing that into lucrative businesses. It's always exciting to see people do that, and you've done that clearly. And then the fact that you've done it in real estate is just another thing that I'm passionate about. So I really think that's awesome. So
that's
if it's all right with you, let's jump into that, because I really like what you said right there at the end about now we're being known in a space where we're taking what traditionally might look at as subpar housing, and we're turning it into bigger, larger, luxurious homes. You want to talk about that some, and like what that process looks like?
Sure. I think it's important to start with the major problem and the future problems that are happening in this country. And I'm in a very unique area, the Silicon Valley, where it's kind of like the future of a lot of the country. But the flaw is it's also the future of the country's problems too. So we're in a unique area. These numbers I'm going to say are higher than most of the country, but understand that the ratios and the concepts are a bit different. So in my area, if a family of four wanted to rent a 3-bedroom home, it would cost them about like $4,500 a month. And if that family ever wanted to buy a single family home, median price in our area is about $1.6 million, right? So how does a family ever like hope to one day afford real estate when the barrier of entry to getting into real estate is very difficult? We all understand the benefits of owning, but it's almost like we don't all have the option to have those benefits,
Right.
right? So our goal is always to bridge that gap of, a family that didn't have parents of wealth and want to have that American dream of home ownership. So diving into buying a single family home, if they wanted to put a 10% down, that would be about $160,000. And with a monthly payment with mortgage, insurance, and tax being over $9,000 a month, that's a huge leap.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very difficult to go from that rental rat race into that home one day home purchase, saving up a down payment and paying that huge, heavy cost. So the beautiful thing that I've understood and found out about mobile homes is that it's a hybrid in between. How if some, like now with our mobile homes in our area, and again, prices is different on each area. A 3-bedroom home would cost about $350,000. There is a space rent, which is kind of like a high HOA, but the entry now is, instead of $160,000, you have a $35,000 down payment, which is so much more attainable. And their mortgage, tax, insurance is about $3,200 a month, which is, and with a space rent of about $1,100 a month. So with that, they're going from a 4,500 rent model to basically the same cost structure, $4,500 a month, but they're able to get the benefits of home ownership. They get to leverage a loan on their taxes. They also get to have a lot of their money and cash flow going towards paying down that mortgage, paying down that loan. Also, they have the upside of the appreciation and also having equity and having financial security in that asset and having that location as well. So with that, we're able to allow people to get out of that rental rat race, live here for 3 years or so, and then 3 years down the line, they have more equity in their home that when they sell, they now have access and opportunity to buy into single family. So that's kind of the way we see it, as a stepping stone in between.
Mm-hmm.
And a solution for those middle class families to have the opportunity for real estate.
Like what you're hearing? Hit that subscribe button and learn how you can change how you're seen and charge what you're worth.
Yes.
Michael and I were raised in very rural areas out in the country, both of us. And so a lot of my family members lived in mobile homes. Some were single, some were double, and some were absolutely beautiful. So
Yes.
however, there is that stigma out there, against mobile homes.
Very true.
For those of Michael and I don't really necessarily see it that way because we grew up around that kind of lifestyle, but there's a lot of that out there. And it's really nice to see you guys. I went through your website. I went through some of your videos. You really work hard at taking an existing mobile home and really doing some work on that to give it that upscale, that beautiful, luxurious feel to that. Tell me where that idea really came from, because it's not just going from a home to your standard mobile home. You guys take great care in that and leveling that up a little bit. Talk a little bit about that, Franco.
Yeah, totally. And I love that you brought that up. And I forgot to mention too, like those numbers that I said, and you guys are in Atlanta. I did consulting for a government agency in Atlanta. Like average single family home value could be 450, and then the rents could be like 2,400, and mobile homes are still a middle point at like 100, 150 or so, right? So I don't want people to just be like, oh, this isn't for me, because it's like California's different numbers, but there's a sliding scale in each different metro market. And you're right on the stigmas and the associations around mobile homes. It's really kind of that hidden gem. And our whole agenda in the beginning is helping people understand that. And the truth is everybody, it's kind of a sad world on what I talked about earlier, is like everyone's chasing the sexy and wanting to help the rich and wealthy get that multi-million-dollar mansion with beautiful countertops, a swimming pool, all of that. And everyone's focused and dived in on that. But it's almost like, it's not as sexy to help a middle-class family on their first step of journey, where in my heart, that is the most rewarding thing for me. So now it was all about, how do we make this sexy? How do we make that exciting, right? And it is a hard job, but we have to understand, how do people get information? How's information distributed? What's the difference between older generation and younger generation? And how do we break these false visual stigmas of mobile homes and trailers, when the movies are like, this is trailer trash for criminals, drug dealers, and that type of thing. All we see in music videos or movies about mobile homes, right? And that's our associations with that. And the only way is through video, right? We can talk about it on a podcast and that type of thing, but they're still going to be skeptical until they actually see it in person, right? It's like, whoa, this guy's talking mobile homes, but why are they showing this beautiful community that's next to a golf course, or this place with a gym that people are happy and super connected, and a home that looks like a brand new construction single family home, right? And it's breaking those stigmas and associations with the reality and the new of what this industry is now like, right? And we have to get that in front of people visually. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, videos are only way around that. And that's exactly what we set upon our agenda to focus on in that first year, is showing the world, not first visually, how this is a beautiful thing, and then second, how financially smart this is and important this is for society, right? So we're bringing that educational element, these elements that I didn't know, being broke and poor back then, that I should focus on outside of career. Because now it's like, I feel like me back then, I thought career and career only was my only chance at wealth. But they didn't teach me back then to understand finances, assets, real estate, and what net worth actually was. So we're bringing that into YouTube and bringing that education. But I think, You're right. And we're still battling it today. Is bringing that luxury element, bringing that excitement, and making it sexy. And that's why our Instagram is Sexy Mobile Homes, is to make that as exciting as we can.
Do you like assume that you guys have become professionals at all the different nuances, right, to mobile homes and that sort of thing? So just a couple of quick questions here, rapid style. Do you focus only on communities where there's already like an aging mobile home, like out here, when they reach a certain age, the counties won't even let you move them. You can't even get a permit to move them out of the space where they've been for the past 20 years. So now you're literally left in a situation where, okay, it's fix it up and sell it, or, effectively it becomes the ownership of the community. And so then in other parts of the county, you can get a permit to move them in, but you can't get a permit to move them out. And then the other counties, you can move them in and out if they're in a certain age. You have to deal with all of that also in the Silicon Valley.
Oh, absolutely. That's what we're doing now. And to answer that briefly, is our direction is primarily focused on, how do we help the society in this given area? And every area has its own different problems. But yes, unfortunately, a lot of our old mobile homes that we'll take is we do have to demolish it on site and start fresh and build brand new. Right. So, and our focus is helping, that middle-class family have that affordability element. But what's beautiful about how we've had to structure things is we want it to be good for them. But in order to do that, we also have to make it beneficial for the park owners, and the government entities as well. Right. So now we're doing a spectrum of all. We help individual residents. How do they raise the value of what they have as a location and as an old home? And then we also help park owners, like, hey, these park owners have a ton of old inventory stock. How do they raise the value of their park as well? And we help with all, and guidance and consulting with all of that too.
Excellent. Yeah, that's really cool. Do you ever have like individual spots, like out here in Georgia, you can take in all of the counties, you can retire the title, a mobile home comes, it's got wheels. So you got to buy your ad valorem tax every year and put your tag on there, but you can retire it. If you own the land, you can retire it to the land, and you just get a bill just like any other tax bill, like a stick-built house. And then they treat it from there on out as a stick-built house. And even if we have them on permanent foundations, we can get long-term financing for them and stuff. I assume y'all deal with all of that too, don't you?
We do. Our primary focus is in the parks where they lease the land. But we do end up having a lot of overlap with like co-ops, and where you also own the land. And with that, we work with government agencies in making, I go to DC often too to do a bit of lobbying, but it comes down to, because we're beautifying this, we're now kind of pitching to banks to make financing easier as well, and financing more available, more backing. Not just because you own the land, but also because they understand that you don't have to own the land for this to appreciate in value and protect the bank's money for lending these out. So
yeah, that's awesome too. That's and I think you're so smart, man. It's cutting edge because it's a necessary situation. Like I've got a friend that is he's working on modular style homes, and where you order the kit, if you will, and the kit comes in, because he's recognizing what so many people recognize, and you recognize it very clearly, that we have a housing problem in the United States because we didn't keep up with the growth rate alone, much less immigrant population growing and transmigratory patterns in the United States, and a lot of places need housing, and this is a viable option that isn't just a throwaway because it's old. There's still an opportunity here to beautify something and make it worth more than an appreciating asset and not a depreciating asset. So super smart.
And you touched on a big thing, and that housing element, and what's the end thing that we need, right? Which is more available housing and affordable housing, right? And
Mhm.
that's why you're starting to see a shift of modular and all of these things, because let's actually think about what the future is going to look like for us. Construction, our contractors, our labor is really 45 years old and older, where they're getting to a point where they're tired and wanting to retire. And all of our young generation are not excited about working with a hammer or being in construction, right? So we're going to
Mhm.
hit a really big problem where we don't have enough housing, and we don't have enough people that are willing to build housing. And that's a huge problem. It's a sad thing, but it's getting worse and worse. This affordable housing thing is getting more problematic than it should, and it's only going to get worse in the future. Now, but if we understand the element of like how important processes are, we can kind of, I use this analogy with like cars. Cars were only originally built for the rich and wealthy, and it was only until they put it on an assembly line that they were able to build these for everybody to own one, right? And make it more affordable for and available for everyone to own one, while still keeping a good level of quality. And that's exactly where we're changing construction now today is when it normally stick built housing is very difficult. You have to transport labor, material, and all of that. Now we're doing all of that in these factories in a controlled environment on an assembly line. And if you see our videos, we literally have the homes moving down the line, and we're maximizing the output of uh, every single contractor there, the electrician, the plumbing, the framing, all of that's being done in one place. Their tools get to stay there. They get to work in the same place every day. We're saving on material, and we have a much better output of a quality home at the end of that line. Not only
Mhm.
that, but it's also, like you mentioned, at a fraction of the cost, at a third or sometimes even a fourth of the cost, and bringing that home to the site at the end of it. And it's that type of innovation and disruption that we need to be able to create to improve housing, because for 100 years we've been building the homes in the same way. And now this is what we need to do, is have this on an assembly line and be able to bring this to a plot of land or bring this to a mobile home park. And we're starting to see that now, and that's really the future of housing that's going to be happening. And it is a must for our country to be able to keep housing affordable.
Mhm.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Franco, I just, as we round out this interview, I want to say thank you so much for not only coming here today, but for what you do. You've changed the lives of so many people who, it's not just about financial stability, it's about achieving a dream of even having their own home in the first place.
Truth. Yeah.
And I just want to say thank you for doing your part as we tell the stories and the stars behind the business here. You definitely are one of those stars. So thank you for your time today.
Oh, appreciate that. And thanks for what you guys do too.
Thank you so much.
Franco, tell the audience how they can learn more about you and Franco Mobile Homes and what you're doing.
Yeah, sure. All of our links are at www.franco.tv. You could see 3D tours of the homes that we build. And I know we're talking on audio and here, but I urge you to take a look at really the future of mobile homes and break those past stigmas that we talked about.
I encourage everybody to do that. Check it out. And Franco, thank you for your time, and thank you for what you're doing.
Ready to change how you're seen and charge what you're worth? If you're not getting enough opportunities to meet with ideal customers, or the prospects you're meeting with just aren't ideal, it's most likely your brand that's holding you back. So if you're a coach, consultant, or expert who is on the rise, you need our ultimate guide to a freedom-based brand. Download it free now at BrandFaceGuide.com.